Hello and welcome to Mayhem with your host May.
So my mind wanders, it moves fast. I think constantly about a myriad of different obstacles, explanations, stories, whatever. It just never ends. And because I live so much in my own head, I have a hard time standing up for myself. Because when something happens, I already have an explanation for it before it's over. Um, I generally lay down. I never stand up. And I don't even question, even when I should. Um, it all started in high school. Um, I was in newspaper, and I don't know about your high school, but in my high school, it was like all of us had these destined roles. People who were going to be drum majors knew it. People who were going to be quarterbacks knew it. We had the head cheerleaders in my class. People who starred in the plays. It was all predestined. And in high school, I was predestined to be editor-in-chief of my high school paper. Well, the journalism teacher my freshman year had to leave after the first year because there was something awful that happened. And then my sophomore year, it was substitutes the entire year. And so my junior year, we had this guy who was an upstart, brand new teacher, started teaching. It was his first year. It was my junior year. And at the end of the year, he chose a younger man to be editor-in-chief of the paper when I had been groomed for that position for 3 years. He didn't even care. He just chose somebody else. And I didn't fight it. I sat down and didn't say anything. And then in college, I wanted to be a preacher. Well, this was before my freshman year. I wanted to be a preacher. And I had the pastor of my church. She sat down with me and she said, "Amanda, I don't think you should be a preacher." And I'm like, "Why?" And she said, "Well, some of your beliefs don't go along with our beliefs." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And she said, "Well, you don't believe in hell." And I'm like, "Okay." And so I let that dream go. And I should have fought it. I should have said something. I should have been like, "Well, what are you talking about? Show me proof. Help me understand why you're saying this to me." But I never did. I just let it go. And then again, at the end of my first marriage, I was a coward. I didn't tell him my feelings. I didn't tell him how I felt. Yes, I was young, but I wasn't honest with him. And instead of being honest with him, I went behind his back and I hoped that he would catch me so that he could break up with me so I wouldn't have to hurt his feelings. It goes on and on and on. I never stood up. And when I did, it was on a rotten soapbox that collapsed when I was agitated. And until this year, I never stood up for myself and I never said anything and I never did anything to protect myself. This year had some mitigating circumstances where I finally was like, okay, I have to do this. I have to do this for me. I have to do this for my kids. And I stood up for myself. And that's when I discovered courage. This is when I found this little shy guy. Because in my head, my kids and I play Mario Kart. I always play shy guy. So in my head, shy guy fits for courage. Because every time I think back in my life about the times that I needed to stand up and the times that I didn't, it was because I was lacking the courage. But I think he's been there the whole time. He's just been shy. And because courage is like me, there is all these other things, all these other mitigating circumstances that are more overwhelming. Fear is more overwhelming. And that's okay because fear is there to protect you. But sometimes you have to look fear in the face and say, "Listen, I need you to stand down because I need to do this. I need to do this for me. I need to do this for my future. I need to do this for my kids. You need to stand down." And I was never able to say that until this year. So yeah, I think of courage as a shy guy. And I don't want to live without him. Now that I've discovered him, I want to live a life of honesty where I stand up for what I believe in, be that politically, be that my lifestyle, be that who I want to be with, be that what I want to do with my body, be anything. I really need to start living my truth and standing up for what I believe in, because even when I was doing that, even when I was writing my blog, I always ended it with, well, I can always change my mind. Nothing is firm. And let's be honest, there are some things in my mind that are firm that I don't want. It would be very hard for me to change my mind about some things. And so I need to be more firm and stand my ground a little bit more. So I just thought I'd introduce you to courage this week, because he's who I've been thinking about an awful lot. And for the book that I chose to talk about this week, I was thinking, okay, what's the most courageous book that I've ever read? Well, I couldn't think of one. I mean, I could think of a few, but they're a little deep and a little too dark to talk about. But then I was thinking about, okay, so what kind of people are really brave? What kind of people are really courageous? What kind of people do people look up to? And what kind of people are like Shy Guy, who wear a mask? Well, there's only one kind of people who do that. And that is superheroes, because they wear a mask so that they can have their public life and their heroic life different and protected. It's understandable. But then it got me thinking that there was a book that I read recently that I really loved, because not only is it about superheroes and superpowers and all that fun stuff, but the main character is a queer character who is vastly underrepresented in books. I've only read a couple books with a queer character, and I have always been so crazy fond about these books. So this character, their name is Zircon. That's their superhero name. So it's about them discovering themselves and who they are, and discovering how they want to be represented in the world and how they want to put themselves out there. And it's kind of their journey from where they started at the beginning of the book to where they ended up. And through this, them and their roommates went to this classroom and ended up with superpowers. And the superpowers represented themselves based on what the person was going through at the moment. So Zircon, the main character of this book, happened to feel little and feel like they were destructible. And so this superpower made her indestructible and made her be able to change size. So she could get really tiny, she could get really huge, but anytime they changed size from how they started, they got like a rock hard shield around their body. So that's why they call themselves Zircon. And these books, they're so well written and so respectful and so amazing and so brilliant. So the author, his name is James Alan Gardner. And the book, this is the best name for a book that I have ever read. So the book's name is All These Explosions Were Someone Else's Fault. And I highly recommend this book. And it's about courage, and it's about finding out who you are, and it's about standing up for yourself. So this week my mantra is that courage, may I find you as you find me, vulnerable but brave. And my epiphany is courage may be shy, but if you think back on your life, you'll discover that he was there all along. Fear is sometimes stronger, and that's okay. I want to say thank you. I want to say thank you for listening. I want to say thank you to my family, because this week has been especially difficult for me. Some mitigating circumstances have happened in my life that have gotten me rethinking the entire past 6 months, and it has not been an easy journey. And I have had nothing but support from Tisa, and support to the point where she can look at me and be like, you're reverting. You really need to stop and think about what you're saying, because you're reverting. You sounded like you did a year ago. And I appreciate that. And I just wanted to say thank you. So I hope you have a good week. I hope you find courage in your life, and I'll talk to you next time.